I'm George Boyter and I'm a watercolour artist, and I'm here on the shores of Loch Duich in the Highlands of Scotland, and looking at the scene behind me. It's Eilean Castle, a well-known landmark. Yesterday I turned up and started to do a drawing, but unfortunately the rain came on, so I've come back today and it's really picture postcard weather conditions, and I'll try and finish the painting now. Yesterday evening, before the rain came, I managed to do a tonal sketch and then a full sketch here on the paper on which I'm going to do the painting. And essentially, the composition hasn't changed. The principal things to know about the composition is I don't want it to be all about the castle. I just have to treat the castle as a shape. It's not a particularly pretty building, but it has a lot of atmosphere. And it's its situation that's really so amazing. It sits out on this promontory. So I think it's very important that it's not just about the castle, it's also about the situation and allowing your eye to travel right down the loch towards the distant mountains of Skye. These are actually the Cuillins of Skye down there. So I want to take the eye past the castle and right down there. In terms of tone, it's pretty much the same tonal landscape in that the landscape goes back in layers. You'll notice that the closest layer to us, the castle, is the darkest. Then this is a little bit lighter still, and the lightest tone are the distant mountains. It's also warmer here, and it goes cooler to a very cool and pale grey off there in the distance. So tonally it's not a great deal different from this, although it was much moodier last night before the rain came. I have to just work out what I'm going to do with the sky, and what I think I will do is to paint a sky a bit like we have today, receding clouds to help take your eye off into the distance. So off we go with the first wash coming up. Okay, so here we are ready to do the first wash, and my strategy for executing this painting is I'll do the sky first. Don't have to worry about any of this. Do the sky and then I'll come down and lay some preparatory wash for the bottom third of the painting, the water, which will be just a touch darker than the sky that it essentially mirrors. But what I've got in front of me, and the light will change substantially during the course of the painting, is the light is coming from here, as you can see, coming in the left hand side. The sun will come down from here and land here eventually about 8 o'clock, by which time I hope to be finished. But I want to suggest the light coming in from here, and it'll give a bit of interest to the sky if it's dark and cloudier here and it's a bit more sunny here. So that's what I've got to do. So let's see, the sky is very dark in places, but of course for us this is a very light wash. So I'm going to just use, this is wet on dry. at the moment. And scumble some of this in, and the clouds should get, they should certainly get smaller as they go into the distance, and they'll get, yeah, they'll get smaller. Let's get a bit of this in here. And then over here we'll go a little bit darker. Cooler, not as cool as that. Let's give this a little spray, keep it workable. So I'm mixing ultramarine blue and burnt sienna here. And let's go in here. You can see there's a nice dark cloud up above the castle. And as it goes off into the distance, it now let the brush dance a little bit. Soften some of these edges. Don't have to worry about the castle, I'll come back to that later. I'll keep this all wet. And I'm mindful of the fact that I mustn't overplay this cloud. But I've got to get some drama into this. Just collect it up here. And I'll dry my brush up here and put this cloud in here. I don't want it to be too left side, right side in the sky. And you just have to hope that you've given it just the right amount of paint to make it interesting. I think I could still go a little bit more up here in this right hand side. Touch warmer. So I think it's I think it needs something like this, you know. Give it a little bit more interest. There we are. It hints at the rain that we had last night, I think. So it's all part of the experience. Now, let's come down here. Just some of that, and we'll come back to these a little bit later. Now, I need the foreground area to be filled in. That's going to be a very slightly darker in tone. It's still cool, it's a slate grey. And of course this is the first wash. So let's see what we've got here. I've got a boxy cloud there, which I'm just going to do something about. There we go. Right, okay, so go through here. Spray, just keep it alive, and it allows me to get some of this in here. It's already taken on a nice idea of rain either threatening or rain passing, which I like that idea. I'm going to pick up some, I want to get some of that colour established early on. It will eventually be just a hint of colour. As the tide goes out, of course, this is all going to appear more strongly here. And so it's important just to establish some of this now. And the warmth underneath the greenery here. That'd be helpful. Maybe a little bit more of this. Feel the wind picking up. So establishing some of this warm foreground area. A bit of warmth here. And I can go as far as to possibly just tickle a little bit of green in as well. Just a tiny bit of green. Dabs, get that in there. Some green in here. Okay, I think that's our first wash done, and we'll leave that to dry completely. So that's the first wash finished. Our wash is now dry, and so I enter into the wet in wet phase here. Let's see what I think of what I've got in front of me. Well, I've established the idea of a passing rainstorm here, brighter sky here, and the sun coming from here. My clouds recede into the distance. I think the dark clouds here are fitting in terms of the history of the castle and such, like, if you want to read it like that. But in terms of painting, what I need to do now is establish the lightest, furthest away tone, which is just a cool grey. I don't want to overstate this. Establish these mountains on sky, and then I bring the tones towards us by getting slightly darker, warmer, and then this will be the darkest tone of all. We may still have some cast shadows, but they seem to be receding as we get some just a bit of a haze over the sun. But anyway, let's get started on sky. And so I'm using an Skoda, what is it? It's a synthetic sable. And it's just an idea, mustn't get into anything too detailed here, but it's nice to have such a great piece of subject matter as sky in the distance. It's really such a fabled place. So we get slightly thicker pigment here, and just add a little bit of green in there. Yep, there we go. That looks pretty much like what I have in front of me. Give it a little bit of darker blue just on the baseline there. Okay, so the mountains of sky, we've got them. And I've got this here. Again, in terms of assessing the tone, it's a lightish mid-tone, an important one to get right in order to bring this landscape towards us. So I'm using some lavender there, which has a thicker and more opaque consistency. I'll pick up some cobalt blue, because that's the blue that's in the sky, and to just neutralize that a bit, I'll pick up some burnt sienna, and you can see what happens there. It greys it. I just need more pigment, so more water first and then go through the same process. Here we are, lavender, burnt sienna, a bit of cobalt blue, a bit more cobalt blue, and I just have to have enough of this. I'm still waiting for this edge to fully dry. I don't want too much bleed there. I'll just use a tad of warm grey here. Warm grey, maybe a little bit of ultramarine blue. And once again, I'll just dab the burnt sienna, cool grey this time. Cobalt blue. Okay, that feels a little bit closer to what I've got in front of me. It's just, this is pretty much one flat colour. And that does feel about right. Because this will dry later. No. Have I mixed up enough? That's always the thing that you have to consider. Have I mixed up enough? Probably not quite enough, but let's see. Not enough. So what I need to do is buy some time, a little bit of spray, and then mix up some more. That'll teach me for not getting it right in the first place. Here we go. Tiny little bit of raw sienna goes in there. And just bringing this down. Now the fact is that whatever I put in front of this is going to be darker, so I don't have to be careful about the edge, but just a bit of variation. Just put some blue in there as it comes down, and there we are. Just a little bit more. Okay. And on this side, I've got slightly more green. In the mix. I need more pigment. A bit of yellow ochre, yeah. And this castle is going to be darker in tone, so it doesn't matter if I go over the edge. That's not a problem. There's another bit there. Okay. And I want some kind of soft edge here. So let's just pick up a little bit of this green, pop it in there. Yeah. And we'll just carry that through there. Alright. So far so good. Now let's get back to this. I think I'll build on this here. I need much thicker pigment, so lots more of it. That's yellow ochre, but it needs a bit of life in it, so there's some cadmium yellow, some cobalt turquoise, and some cerulean. So continually mixing on top of what's just gone before, really. This all needs to go much darker and more pigment. So there's some burnt sienna, give it some warmth. Yellow ochre. So I'm just searching for tone and colour at the same time here. It's important to have enough of this. Just bring it down in tone by putting some cobalt blue in there. I'll bring the green back up with cadmium yellow, but it's still really quite light, isn't it? I need thicker pigment, basically, thicker, in order to get the tone to reduce. I could revert to using some of the warm grey or cool grey, but I'd really like to get this with a mix of colour. And I feel like I'm getting there now. Okay, the sun's just popped over onto the side of that. Yes, okay. I think we're in business now. So. Now it is much darker there. Right on the edge here. It's much darker. So let's get some of this in. And this is real wet and wet. While it's there, I can mix on the page with some cadmium yellow in there. It's probably too strong. A little bit of cerulean just to calm it down a bit. And some ultramarine, mixing on the page, as you can see, on the paper, and it's much the best way to achieve the results, I think, is to mix like this on the page. And then we've got a dark shore here, haven't we? Trees. I could adjust this later, may well need to. It should just be a hint. I think what I need to get some real dark is some violet. So here we are here, ultramarine violet goes into that mix, and I'll pop that in there. And I'm just concentrating to try and get a decent edge here. So, there's that done it. Yeah, the violet really worked. I'll pop some more in. A bit of blue on the edge. Okay, so we've got that part done. now it's the castle, really. The darkest tone of the lot. So I'm going to go back to a slightly larger brush than that synthetic sable. This is a small mop, and I'll build on top of this here. It's going to start with burnt sienna because there's a warmth in that brickwork. But wherever you use burnt sienna, you counter it with ultramarine blue usually, which is what I'm going to do here. Ultramarine and burnt sienna. I need to get thicker consistency. There's still too much water in this. It's building up, and there's a really nice light just cast itself onto the castle now. Pick up some warm grey. Could that be what I'm after? Hey, yeah. Okay. I want a lighter version of that here and there. That's just a tester, really. I'm going to get in there on that roof. I'll go back to this one. So okay, here we go. And it feels like it just needs to be blocked in, frankly. With a certain amount of confidence is needed here. And I'll have to come back to all of this at some point, but there's a time and a place for everything, and I just need to get this in now. No messing, just get it in, get the shapes in, and here we go. So down there, a bit thicker. I'm just concentrating here. Soften those edges quite soon. I will spray, buy myself some time. And I'll squeeze some water from the brush here and just soften some edges.
Hi.
Soften the edges. There we are. I'll leave that there just now, and I'll need to come back and just give a bit more attention to the dark tones. It's lifting out there. And let's see. I'll come down here now. So there's a bit of a sequence to follow. Get here with the greens, some darker greens. The paint brush dance. Soften some edges. And in here also. Pick up some cadmium yellow there with some cerulean, and let's just flick in some of this greenery that's concentration required. Bit of blue on this dark side underneath, and nice bit of dark here and here. Just a few cool bits there. Okay, so let's do some of these rocks. Just going to pick up some lavender here, and I'm going to use that to just put a bit of shadow here. So some rocks. That might be what you can hear behind me, I think, is just some people leaving on their bikes. There's a few rocks all the way along here. So I'll just try and express them as quickly as possible. They're not really particularly important in the grand scheme of things. And then we go into some seaweed. Here. And mix some blue in with that. Give us an idea of shoreline. So we're still working wet in wet here. Yeah, still working. And of course I have got an earlier water line from when the tide was in, because I loved the reflection that was there, and I'd really like to hang on to that. Yeah. So just need to get some of these rocks here. Again, let's feather that, let it bleed in, and then we've got another one here. Let's keep these fairly simple, but what's good is that they are good for a kind of link up. In here we've got another one, pick up some warm grey and some burnt sienna. That is maybe just a tad warm. Okay, here we go. Just take one look at the shape and then try and follow it. My shape, of course, was slightly different before. So it's going to be an amalgamation between the old shape and the shape I see in front of me now. Something like that. Okay. So far, I feel like I should just carry on down here. I need to get my reflection in here, and then I'll try and finish some of that up. But yes, I think it's time for the reflection that I saw earlier. It was very neutral. So here we are. We've got well, I saw a lovely reflection when I started here. I've still got to go back in here and give us some shape with some darker tones. And it's dry enough that I could do that now. Feels like that's what needs to be done. Darkish tones. If I hit it too hard though, it's the tonal difference between the light tones and dark tones is not great, and this will be an extra layer that I put on here. So let's just have a little look at this. So we'll come down. So that looks kind of like it. What's that wall? No. Problem is I'm working where my right hand wants to be. So let's go across here. I need to make sure I've got enough of this. Cool grey.
Oh,
bit of ultramarine.
I'm going to have to come round here.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
And just mix up this slightly deeper tone that I need to fix. So let's see if I've got the right thing here. Gonna try and be accurate. there, goes down. There's a... Okay, so far, as I keep hearing myself say, so far so good. There we are. And then I'll bring this down. Bring it down, 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 down. I'll look at these windows a bit later, but what I want to do is get down to the base of this and there we go. Okay, I think this is going to work, folks. Here, a bit of this is actually slightly darker. In here. Does a bit of that. I'm liking it. This is going to work. Running out of pigment here. So I'm right across here. I need to get to about here. Yeah. That down. Then increase the tonal depth. I just want to lose all this. I don't want detail here. I just want to don't get distracted by the I don't want these edges to get too hot though. So I'll just go up here now. We need that. And nice edge there. And nice edge there. There's a soft edge there. Some of that out. Okay, so far so good. I've said it once again. So I need to carry on round here, and I want that in there. Edge on this. Just want a straight line there. Yeah, okay. Let's get down here. To work quickly. So picking up more of this now, and I want that down here. some stuff happening there, and there's that happening. So this is really quite hard work. It's the timing that's really the hard bit here. Let's just go through there. Yes. And let's see if I can tidy some of that up. I need a bit of a dark, bit of neutral tint here. Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and I've got there's a doorway in there. There's a there's something there. I'm not quite sure what it is. Dark area here, and there's a couple of funny little arches there. There's a window there. So for these I need some darker, thicker pigment. Just subtle stuff. And this is where it gets a little bit difficult because I can barely see what I'm doing, but anyway, no excuses. I don't really want lots of detail there. Yeah, what we need to do is just keep our eye on the overall picture. Keep your eye on the overall picture, and everything will be okay. Some of this stuff I can leave until a little bit later. I think what I'll do now is get round here and get this bit done. Okay, so I'll pick up another brush now. This dark shadow, dark reflected shadow. Again, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, the usual pairing. I'll go for neutral tint here. Trying to get a nice deep dark. With some colour in it. So that's why I keep going back and picking up some ultramarine blue and balancing it with burnt sienna. Now, that kind of does this, doesn't it? We need some confident brush strokes here. join this up. And I'm making this up because it's not in front of me. Let's see what can be done. I can't really remember what happened here. I'll try and approximate it. I'll join that up here. Time for a little spray. I need a shadow here. So once again it's ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. A bit of a neutral tint, get it darkened down. And we'll pop that in here. And then this all needs to join up somewhere or other. Just needs to join up. That's not something I can see, it's just something I can feel. So we'll just, without any further ado, we'll get in there. And do a bit of joining. Soft edge here. Soft edge, please. So what I did there was I cleaned the water out, cleaned the brush in the water, and then just squeezed it out. Took it over the edge, and it does soften the edge, which can sometimes help the appearance of water. What I've got in front of me now is some quite bright green. So I'm going to put some of that in. and hope that it reads properly. So we're still looking for some of this foreshore stuff. And there's something happening here that I want to include. There we go. Now, I'm going to put in some I was going to put in some windows here, but that would be the final stages. What I need to do is just decide if there's any more strong brush strokes through this area. Is there any more connecting up that needs to be done? I think there is. The usual combination, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue with some neutral tint. And what I'm trying to do here is connect up the water with the area above it. And I'm using some dry brush technique here, so we're possibly into what is called a dry brush sequence. It becomes indistinguishable towards the end of a painting sometimes because you're just busy trying to pull the whole thing off. A little bit of spritz. And what else do we need here? I need this to go slightly darker, and therefore that needs a very swift cool grey, a broken edge. So I'm mixing up ultramarine into some leftovers there. I don't want it to be too colourful. I shall have some kitchen roll ready. And I'm going to just dab this off a little bit. I need to go across here. And one here. Just the feeling that there's movement of wind across the water. Okay, so there's still something to be resolved here. Let's see if I can do that. And let's go into finishing stage, which is dry brush strokes. I need to put in some windows just to help that along. A little bit of detail. Decide on how to resolve this, and then we're done. So I go for this brush here, and I'm going to look at the building, picking up some ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, some neutral grey I think. I want some thickish paint, and then what I'll do to get the dry brush technique is I'll just dab the water out here. So let's see if I can do something to help some of these areas. So we've got, I almost can't see what I'm doing here, but dry brush strokes, and we've got some darks to put in here, some darks underneath. Some kind of stonework that really helps to say it's a castle. And some windows here and up here. Go along here. Some that I'm not sure what these are, these look like gun ports. And then we'll do some of these ones here. Okay. What else have we got here? Some really tiny detail stuff. We've got some little tower there. Yeah. What else is there? Ah, there's a window there. I think I'm going to put a window there. Feels like we need a window here. Sometimes you just need to balance stuff up. If the architect didn't think of it, I can just I can make my own mind up. And we'll get this. That is the actual entrance there. Okay, probably enough done there to give the castle its presence. Just going to bring some of this left-hand edge of the bush back by going in with a damp brush and just lifting out. Okay. What else needs to be done? It's a bit of dry brush work. Some detail. I need to kill some of this very light green here. So here we go. Let's get this in.
I'm broken, but I'm alright. Yeah, did the 3, yeah. Yeah, we're both like 14,
Do a little bit of that.
14 miles. We're going to do touristy fun things. We're going to go into the castle tour and then over the sky. Yes, that's sky.
A little dab here. Set this against the light.
Yay! Typical Scotland.
So I've got this area here still to resolve. Still actually a little bit damp. But it needs some probably hard edges to integrate this. So I'll pick up the sable. What is it I really want to do? That's what I need to tell myself. It needs to be darker. Link this up. This is invention. This is invention. So here we go.
My mum's from London. Well, my mum's from London. And I was from Manchester.
Let's see.
Left me up here. They're in Shropshire. Yeah, my little sister's down there. Because after she went home, then down there.
This is too light and this is not resolved. So this is still drying. I'm going to knock this. I'm going to knock this down. Knock it back. Yeah.
My parents lived in Scotland from 1973 to 1999, and my dad was like very English, very absolutely English. My mum has the odd word, but yeah. Yeah. Oh well, enjoy the rest of your day.
It's not ours, no.
Right.
See ya.
I'll lose a bit of this down here. That to be darker. So see what I can do to let's see what I can do to integrate this here. It needs a little bit of dark. And I can still work on the darks. So what I feel is missing are some darks. These are really just brush strokes. This is one I'm going to have to wait and see what it looks like when it's dry, to see if I can see if it's resolved properly, because with the tide out, this base area is, I have nothing to refer to other than what's there. So I'm going to leave it now, take a look. I may have some finishing touches to do back in the studio. So I'll take one last look. And say it's finished there. Well, here's the finished painting. The light's changed radically since I started, and certainly since yesterday when the rain fell. I didn't know if I'd get this painting finished, but here we are, and the tide's gone out. I'm quite happy with what I've ended up with, and time to go home.